Empaths who keep their circle relatively small usually have a few certain traits and characteristics. And the reason I'm making this video is because I'm an empath and I also have a small circle. And for many years, I questioned that. I wondered if it was something that was wrong with me, some type of fundamental relationship error in my thinking. And over the years of just observing my own path and also working with hundreds, sometimes even thousands of empathic people, I noticed that, for one, I'm not alone. And number two, the reason for this small circle life choice that we've made is ultimately very positive and also very, very important. There's a very unique purpose the loner empath has. And what this video here is going to do, I'm going to share with you the reasons why so many empathic people, especially right now in 2026, are finding their social circle relatively small, the unique traits of these individuals who are making this choice, and ultimately the reason for all of it, the purpose behind it. Well, the first reason I want to share, just to kind of get out on the table, the fact that this is not a problem with you. It's a sign of energetic intelligence. You don't need to hear someone's story to make a very clear assessment of their intentions and their level of compatibility with you, if they have your best interest at heart, or if they have ulterior motives, if they're a good person or a bad person, if they're going to be a handful to deal with in terms of your relationship, or someone who's going to be like, you can suss all this out by just observing and tuning into someone's energy. I would watch my kids do this, by the way. At a young age, I think most people are empathic at a young age, especially. My kids are all empaths themselves. And we'd, of course, as a family, we'd run into people, we'd talk to people, people would come and some would know us, or my children have observed many times my wife and I conversing with other people. And it was always very obvious who they gravitated towards or not. Certain people, they would just immediately feel comfortable with. And they'd go and they'd sit on their lap and they'd laugh and they'd play and they'd show them their drawings. And it was like they were their best friend. And it was not because they thought much about them or met them many times or warmed up to them. It was like instant. And then there were other people who it was the exact opposite. And there'd be other people sometimes who would go out of their way to say, "Hey, how you doing? Why don't you come talk to me?" Like to kind of engage, and my kids would just kind of shut down. And you might find that you're not like a little child, obviously, anymore, but you might find that you just do that in a more adult way. And also, you're living in a world where there's not a whole bunch of people that you can immediately vibe with. It's not that you're not willing to. You probably have done it in the past. Have you not had someone that you really opened up with, gotten close with, had a great relationship with, but you've learned they are few and far between, and you're wise enough and you love yourself enough that you're not going to just open yourself up to someone you know, even if you don't know why you know or how you know, but you know this is not going to turn out well. I would prefer to be over here in my space than over there with you. And you may have had to kind of set that nonverbal boundary time and time again, obviously resulting in a smaller circle of friends. Now, if everyone's not doing this, and I observe this, I've been, and I'm sure you have as well, I've been to gatherings with lots and lots of people, and I could tell oftentimes how much of the interaction is happening up at the surface. I don't want to be judgmental necessarily, but I could just get the sense that not everybody is experiencing what I'm experiencing when I'm experiencing another human being. And you may have noticed that as well. It's very like tit for tat conversation. Here's what I have to say, here's what you have to say, and it's light and it's like very on the surface, it's great and upbeat and enjoyable and deep, but there's like no depth to it. There's no genuine connection. It's more like everyone's minds are just kind of hanging out. And when I see that, it's just not something I really want to do unless there's that deeper component. And this is just the best way I would verbalize it. I don't know if that's even the best way to express it, but you can let me know in the comments if that made sense. hopefully it did. But it's why I'm making this. This is also me. I have a decent amount of acquaintances, I would say, but very few people who I would like drink medicine with, go deep with, drink, ayahuasca with, San Pedro, like people who I'd invite to my home and really share what's going on with me, very honestly and authentically. Not that I'm like fake with people, but I will keep those at a distance who I feel ought to be kept at a distance. Nonetheless, it's something I've come to accept about myself. I used to think there was something wrong with me, and maybe you have as well, because I know for me, back in the day when I was younger, I had like a whole bunch of friends. I had a huge high school group of friends, like 20, 30, 40, 50 people. I was very, very social. I had lots and lots of people I interacted with. And just over the years, mainly after I had my spiritual awakening, I just sort of, in one way or the other, found myself going on like a different path that happened to result in a lot of introspection, a lot of reflection, a lot of changes. I've gone and moved and made a lot of changes. And over the years, I've come across people who I've been blessed to be able to go deep with, like my close friend Aaron Dowdy, for example, and among other people. But it hasn't happened in the dozens. It's a smaller circle of people, but it's a fit. And I no longer fight it. I no longer question it. I no longer blame myself. This other reason I call sacred aloneness. When an animal is sick, oftentimes it will naturally, instinctually fast. It will go off, it will rest, and it will fast, knowing somehow that's the most efficient way for it to kind of rejuvenate and replenish itself. Empathic people are not trying to compare to animals necessarily, but you instinctually will fast from social interaction when it's advantageous for you to go within yourself, to contemplate, to reflect, to inquire, to heal, not physically maybe, like you're injured, but emotionally. You will sometimes take yourself out of the picture because you're going through an upgrade, like a spiritual, physical, even emotional, like metamorphosis. And it can be very jarring and distracting. It's disorienting to experience that. And this isn't like some momentary thing. This could take like months sometimes. But it's very jarring to experience that when you're out and about with lots and lots of people. It reminds me one time of when I drank ayahuasca. Years ago, I drank ayahuasca. And it was a very interesting experience because I drank 2 cups of very, very, very strong medicine. And the entire night went by and I didn't feel a single thing. I felt stone cold sober. And the end of the ceremony rolled around, which I knew because I've drank with these people before and I knew the last song they always play. And sure enough, it came on. And I literally remember myself, I sat up and I grabbed my notebook and I was like getting ready to go. I was like, okay, at the end of the song, I'm gonna bounce and drive home. And it was about midway through the song when all of a sudden I looked around and realized that, oh my God, both cups somehow seemed to digest at the exact same time. And I found myself just gone. And I was like, oh my God, this can't be happening. This is the last song. What the hell am I going to do? This is just starting. I have 5 hours left and this song's over in 3 minutes. Sure enough, it was over in 3 minutes. And I remember after the song ended, it was quiet for about 5 or 10 minutes and I was still kind of journeying. But slowly but surely I could like hear and feel the room kind of waking up and people were kind of moving and making noise, and this person would go over to this other person's little area and they start talking. Before you know it, like it got louder and louder and louder. And before you know it, everybody pretty much, except me and one other guy, was in the kitchen eating snacks and laughing and cackling. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But suddenly, this deep experience of transformation was experienced by me in a ridiculously jarring, uncomfortable, crazy way. And in fact, as it was happening, I even had like the insight that this is what it feels like when you're really, really empathic, just super, super disorienting. And it's just very difficult to not feel uncomfortable and disoriented when you're hypersensitive, you're going through a transformation in a kind of a busy, chaotic environment. And that might be why, an extreme version obviously, but why you've just sort of naturally gravitated into your own space. Because many people, drinking ayahuasca is great. It's like a very accelerated version of a transformation that can take sometimes months or years. But most people, you can't always drink ayahuasca, obviously. So most of us will have times just like that where we will take ourselves out of the picture to transform and to heal in a much quieter, safer place of our own energy and solitude for obvious reasons. Also, over the years, kind of like what I said before, you might just have greater requirements for who you let in to yourself. You might demand resonance and depth over superficiality and numbers of people. I'm kind of the same way. I'm kind of an introverted guy by nature, to say, but even with that said, I find that I almost can't really be myself if I don't sense that there's a genuine, like, compatible energy there. And I've had it with people who I've been around a lot through like acquaintances, and I could tell they would wonder, like they could tell like I'm keeping like my walls up. And I remember I went for a while where I questioned this. Like, am I just like not being, am I being rude? Am I not giving this poor person a chance? And I could see kind of that they're taking it personally or something. But every time I would try to just do that to appease them, I just almost couldn't do it. Like I was walking into dissonance. Like it just felt unnatural, not authentic. And I would like, I would allow people in depending upon that degree of resonance, essentially. If that even makes sense also. but the point is, I share this in case you're doing the same thing. And in case you're going through what I went through, which was really questioning myself. In fact, I had a whole coaching session. I used to see this Jungian analyst named Doug, and I remember dedicating an entire coaching session to this exact topic. And when he told me, he said, "Vic, it's okay, man." He said, "I'm the same way." He says, "I have what I call my fishing buddies. People that I go and I fish with, I have a beer, I talk about sports, and I kind of leave it at that. It's cool, it has its purpose, it's fun, it's light, it's enjoyable. But I don't share with them the interpretations of my dreams. I don't share with them my secret dreams and fears, and passions and desires, and I keep them at a certain distance that's appropriate. Now I have also other friends who I go deep with, but it's like you're selective." Another reason for this is it's sort of twofold. One, you're someone who grows fast. You're someone who probably has read countless self-help books. You're interested in spirituality, psychology, mastering your emotions. This is something that is of genuine interest to you. And consequently, you this is good. This is a good thing to do. It's good, but it caused you to change, essentially. And the more you change, the faster you change. And if other people around you aren't just into that, and it's okay, there's no judgment, you'll find it harder and harder and harder to relate. So that's part of it. You grow quickly. You grow and outgrow, and not even outgrow like you're above people. It's more like you just change, and that sort of bond that you may have had with somebody for a long time it's just not there. And you feel it, even if they don't. But many times they do feel it as well. But the second part of this is that you can tell also when a relationship has run its course. What I have studied and have learned and speculate is this. It's going to sound kind of crazy, but I believe that this is not our first lifetime. and that we travel through different incarnations with lots and lots of different people. And I believe a lot of our life is planned. And I believe we're sort of designed, and we design it to where we will meet up with certain people at certain times, sometimes to walk for the rest of our life together, but many times to learn something, to teach one another something. I've seen this many times with relationships. There's a whole phenomenon people call it twin flame phenomenon. I don't pretend to know, or I choose not to like discuss much of that, but what I do see are people will come together and there's like an undeniable resonance, a soul level depth and resonance and love and synergy. But then they can't make it work in this life. Like they just can't. They have too many conflicting aspects of their personality or their chosen path or something, where the love is there, the connection's there, the bond is there, but it's like sometimes it's kind of explosive or it implodes, or nonetheless it's like as they separate. And it's gonna be very painful. I've seen close friends go through this. It's like it's confusing. Like why would I love someone so much? Why would this happen? And like life get in the way to such an extent it just seems impossible to be with them. And yet, over time, there are invaluable lessons that impact the future relationships. This is something that happens to a lot of empathic people because they have that ability to sense, this is someone that has a familiar energy signature. And oftentimes they'll sense it with you too, and you'll get really close and then go off. But nonetheless, this can happen to a lesser degree just with buddies and friends and even other partners and relationships. But it's kind of undeniable, is it not, when the relationship is in a sense run its course. It's like it becomes too heavy, takes too much force, and it just feels unnatural to not just go where life is trying to take you. This happened to me years ago with some of my closest friends. And for years, I questioned if this was the right move, and I thought a lot about this. But years ago, I had like a huge group of high school friends who to this day I love and respect big time and miss as well. But at one point, I became drug addicted, and then I got clean. And then when I got clean, not that they were all like using lots of drugs or anything, but they were partying. We were like in our 20s, early 20s. They were drinking and smoking weed and doing some drugs and just kind of like, just they would party a lot, these guys, and I used to as well. And at first I pulled myself away because of that, because I didn't want to fall back into old patterns. But even beyond that, when I was able to like be around them and not like worry about partying, it just wasn't the same. At that point, I had like an awakening, and I was just in a very, very different place in my head, and going and thinking about different things, and then reading different types of books. And I would be around them, and there was just no connection. We could no longer connect. And then for a while, there was like this distance. And during that time, there was like, I felt so alone. I wondered, like, why am I not putting more effort into these friendships? These are my boys. We have each other's back for life. We always said that. And I really like doubted myself. And then this one experience happened that really made everything clear. Guns N' Roses came to town, and this is like a band we all loved very much. And we all got tickets, and we all thought like this could be our way to reunite at a GNR concert. How cool, how synchronistic. And I remember I walked up to the concert hall with my wife, and my buddies were like standing there like waiting for me. We were going to meet up for the first time in a long time. And I could just tell when I looked at them, I could tell even visually, somehow, we are not a match anymore. This is going to be awkward. This is something we sort of forced. This is not meant to be. And I knew it, and they knew it too. It was like so awkward and uncomfortable. And it was sad because I know we all felt this. Like, man, we used to, you know, This one guy, I used to sleep at his house like every night. We'd hang out at his house every single freaking day. We were like brothers. And all of a sudden that relationship had run its course. And the only option was to continue on my path, even though it was taking me in directions that I didn't expect, I didn't anticipate, I didn't ask for. I didn't ask to estrange myself from my friend group necessarily, but it's just what was happening. And I used to regret it. I used to think like I made a mistake. I used to think like it was like wrong of me to do that. But now as it's happened over and over, and I've gone through this for the last 20 years of my life, I realize that there's no fighting it. There's a purpose to it. There's a purpose to you doing this too, my friend. And a lot of the purpose is that you have a purpose. You have something else you're meant to do, meant to express. This isolation time is necessary for you to become the greatest version of yourself and to mold and grow into the person you came to become and grow into in this lifetime. The example you're meant to set, the type of frequency you're meant to give off, whether it's in the mix or from afar. Nonetheless, you came to walk the path you're on now. And it can be a lonely path, or at least, again, limited to a few close buddies if you're lucky. But there's a reason for it. And the loneliness will lead to more and more awareness, more and more healing, more and more awakening, more and more empowerment, more and more alignment, more and more attunement with your divine purpose in this lifetime. And that, whether you like it or not, is what you probably came to do if you're relating with this video. And having been on this path, I can honestly say, even the challenging aspects that I covered, there's something that I've come to peace with, I've gotten over, I've come to accept, and I've come to appreciate, and I understand the value of it. And I wouldn't change this life for anything in the world. And I would not have said this at other times in my life. And I'm making this video for you. If you're still questioning yourself, still wondering if you made the right choice, still wondering if there's something wrong with you. Hopefully something in this video resonated deeply and gave you the peace of mind you deserve, the permission to just be yourself. Everyone deserves the freedom to be who they are, to be as they are. And you are no different, my friend. So thank you for watching, and I wish you an amazing week. God bless.